All right, we're back. What's up, folks? It's Steve Holmes here, streaming live from Los Angeles, from the drum room here. All right, we're going to play some drums. We're going to chat about drumming, and we've got some messages here about. Oh, I can actually insert an ad. Interesting. Sorry about that. I got a pop-up message that's like, oh, insert an ad. I didn't know that's what it did. Anyways, that's funny. Not really good timing, eh? Anyway, we've got some changes we made to our setup here. And we've been wanting to add some more cameras and wanting to play along with like a click and play along with tracks. And unfortunately, we can't do that stuff yet because I haven't been able to get my Apollo box to process effects in a way that I'm happy with. And that's on me. That's just my inability to set up the Apollo effects to sound good. And so we've gone back to using Logic to process our effects. And I can do some screen sharing and we can look at that actually. So for now, I'm just going to play a little bit and we might make some level adjustments. I think the right overhead is actually it's a little hot. So we might do some adjustments with that. We'll see. Anyways, leave a comment. Let me know how it sounds because I'm always paranoid about the quality of the sound and the levels and stuff. I know that this thing is like, it's blocking the hi-hat, so I'm trying to get that out of the way. Anyways, I'm going to play a little bit. Leave a comment. Let me know what it sounds like. Let me know if you have any questions. It's all about sharing the knowledge, chatting about drumming, etc. So that's it. My name's Steve Holmes. Thanks for hanging out. right. Man, super rusty. Trying to get those ideas. It's always a struggle. It is always a struggle. What's up, folks? My name is Steve Holmes. We're streaming live from the drum room. Thanks for hanging out. We're doing some drumming. We're talking about drumming, that kind of thing. So that was a little test of the current sound. Let's see what folks are saying. Let's see, Julian Fernandez back for more. Julian, always I can always count on you, man, for the feedback. I really appreciate it. Let's see, George says, I think the cymbal overheads can come down. Then it would be great. Yeah, agreed. Do you have any suggestions for improving jazz language? Actually, before we get into that stuff, I thought it might be fun to actually kind of show the setup here that we have going in terms of the mix, etc. These are the overheads here, 1 and 2. And so I can actually bring them down a smidge, and just see how that does. I don't know if that's going to make any difference. Maybe not. Sorry, that's actually not the right. Oh man. Anyways, I turned them down a little bit, so we'll see. We'll see. I agree, the cymbals are a little hot. Suggestions for improving jazz language. Any albums I can listen to? Man, I'm sure a lot of people in the chat can suggest jazz albums. The big jazz album for me that really kind of blew me away and made me want to like sound a particular way was an older record from Wynton Marsalis called Standard Time Volume 1 with Jeff Tain Watts on drums. Jeff Tain Watts is my favorite jazz drummer, period, the end. He's the king. He's the GOAT for me. I mean, there's so many, obviously. But that album kind of reached me and had an effect on me. And I just kind of studied that album by just listening with the headphones, no distractions, which is so rare nowadays. It's so easy to be on your phone and look at the internet and whatever. But yeah, there was a number of recordings that like you just have to just sit and ingest, like no interruptions. Man, whatever. Speak No Evil, Wayne Shorter. That's like one of my go-to ones. That's Elvin. You gotta love the music too. I mean, it certainly helps. You don't have to, but that's one of the things I like to say. Like people are like, oh, I want to play jazz. How do I play jazz? And I'm always like, step one, like, do you love the music? Do you like listening to it? That's a big motivator for me. And I always loved, kind of small group bebop stuff. And after they play the head, and then the bass starts walking, and then they start swinging, and the first solo comes in. That was it, man. That's the stuff that makes my heart sing. But I mean, the big name drummers, the big name jazz drummers, they're a big name for a reason. You just can't go wrong. Pick a guy and spend X amount of time, like just getting into that guy and trying to figure out, why was this guy like a thing? Surely he had something going, or else he wouldn't be significant. All the guys, all the big jazz guys, Jack DeJohnette, Peter Erskine, Elvin, Art Blakey, like all these guys, the old stuff. And then you get in the contemporary guys of like, who were the big guys in the 80s, who were the big guys in the 90s, who were the big guys in the 2000s, and just do some Googling and just spend some time and just check these guys out. It's never been easy. All you got to do is click on things. It's nuts. You don't have to go to the store and you just click on things. It's crazy. So those are some records that really helped reach me. Do you have any suggestions for improving my jazz? Oh, okay, we did that already. Let's see. Shaman says splash. Yeah, this splash is good, but this stack thing, like I thought actually maybe if you guys want to suggest, I have some other stuff here to stack or just put like by itself, to replace this thing. I've got a 12-inch A splash, which is might be too big for this placement. We need something smaller here. And I've probably done all the combinations of these that I could, but I've got a 10-inch trash former, which is great for stacking, and then another, looks like a 10 custom splash, which actually this might go good here just on its own. And then we've got a Oriental splash, which is 11. Yeah, it's 11. It's got a couple cracks in the bill. Anyway, this is that. So we have options here, you know. And what's on here now, again, I'm kind of not happy with this. This combination. Let's see, this is a custom EFX 10-inch with holes. Maybe we'll try this by itself. Actually, let's do that to start. And this is an 8-inch A custom. All Zildjian, right? I'm a Zildjian guy, love Zildjian cymbals. So this is what was on there currently. But I'm thinking we take off the stack and just try this effects thing by itself. That'll be fun. Because it's not just about like sounding good on its own. It's about sounding good like with the other stuff. Especially with splashes. If like there's a splash, it's got to sound good with the other splash. The splashes have to sound good together. So let's see how this thing sounds without the stack. Yeah, it's fun. I think that they contrast each other enough to where it's like, you know, you can make little phrases, da do do da, like little, you know, pitch differences. I kind of like that. Let me know what you guys think. This is the effects, and it's got a little bit of a different enough sound because it's got the holes. It's not like just a splash, right? So let's see, Norwegian tax authorities say do a Norwegian style blast beat next time. New Drum says, sounding good, man. Thank you, New Drums. Shaman Z10 says, kya haha, laughing at me. No doubt. Oh, hey, look, we made the big time. We've got some chat spam in here. You know you've made it big time when you've got some chat spam. Oh, man. All right, I'm going to stand up. Sorry. Let's get the lights like... symbol over. Okay, yeah. So what else do we got? We talked about jazz. Let's see. I want to get comfortable in 3/4. Is there a good beginner song that would be good to listen to? Says Lavish D. Lavish D is frequents these streams. What's up, Lavish? Man, get comfortable. In 3. Man, I can't think of a pop tune. I mean, there's one, and at the risk of sounding cheesy, like there's an older Dave Weckl album. The album is called Hardwired. The song is called In Flight. And it's a pretty generic medium tempo thing in 3. It's like dance, 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 dance. Check that tune out. Playing 3 is super fun. Pardon me. We can talk about that. I mean, if you're practicing playing in 3, you know, you want to make sure that you place the backbeat on all the different places that it can, because it's not like, you know, when you're playing in 4/4, it's like boom dat. It's like the backbeat usually spells out very clearly where you are. And in 3, it's like you could put the backbeat on any number of places, and because it's an odd number of beats, it's like it may not sound like it resolves naturally. Certainly not as much as 4/4. And in coming up with fills and stuff, I mean, whenever I'm approaching odd meter, you know, or any meter other than 3, you know, like to take, you know, take a fill that I would play in 4 and kind of like translate it to that new time signature, you know? I mean, I'm all about singing stuff and internalizing stuff, you know? And so step 1 for me is like, you know, we could put the backbeat, you know, any number of places, you know, burns, but that, you know, on 3. You know, you can put it on the end of 1, you know, that, dance, stat, dance, stat, right? So that's backbeat on the end of 1, 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, you know, that, you know, and you put the backbeat on 2, that, go, that, you know, it's good to do when you're trying to get used to playing an odd meter. It's just good to do period, but it's particularly challenging in odd meter is don't put a bass drum on 1. Don't emphasize 1, you know, but still playing 3, you know. You're just like, that goes, check it, check it, check it, check it, right? Like the singing stuff, like it has to happen here before it happens here, you know. You know, putting the backbeat on different places and, you know, ignoring 1, that kind of thing, you know. That's fun to do. Coming up with fills is also kind of challenging, you know. Usually, you know, just start simple and just add, you know, just add more notes. You know, you could play just quarter notes in 3 and start from there and just make it 8th notes, then make it 16th, you know, make it triplets, whatever. You know, ba don don ba ba bass bass boom 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 ba. You know, like this is the simple, like the elementary stuff you got to do at the beginning, you know, and then the rest of the stuff, you know, it'll come easier, you know. I wish I could turn on a click here. I'm working on getting it so we can, you know, play with a click and play with some tracks. I'm not able to do that yet, unfortunately. I thought we were going to be able to today. Different tempos too, right? Like we played like a medium thing, like we do like a faster thing. Hey, remember that time I knocked my microphone off? The little fluffy microphone cover came off. watch me look for it for a minute. It's super entertaining. Anyways, that was me playing in 3 at a faster tempo and trying to help communicate 1. But turn on the click, play different tempos. There's a couple other tunes in 3 that are actually worth mentioning. There's a record by Gary Willis, the bass player, called Bent, that Dennis is on. There's several tunes in 3 on that record. The first one is slow, God, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh man! And then they go into a double time thing, and so the bar is like it's in 6. And Dennis plays like his fat back groove, he calls it. See if I can remember how that song goes. I could play that groove. Man, I forget. Anyway, get the record. The second tune on Bent is called Armageddon Blues. Whoo, man. It's like a fast 3. It's like, that's the bass line. So it sounds like it's going like, it's not. It's like, oh, love that song. Check out Armageddon Blues. I think I blew some car speakers on that tune. So anyway, Lavish D, there's some suggestions for playing 3. Let's see what else we got. It's like being a surfer riding the tube straight through. We've got a paradiddle up in the wave. Man, that was nice. Okay, so Shaman Z10 with some commentary. Thank you. Let's see, new drums. I think the Jazz Crusaders is an excellent middle ground for people who are not super familiar. Okay, so yeah, suggesting the Jazz Crusaders for the earlier question about recommendations for jazz. I'm actually not terribly hip to the Jazz Crusaders. Sorry about this light in the background. It's horrible. Let's see. Helped me become inspired. Oh yeah, check them out. Jazz Crusaders. Buddy Rich. Let's see. New private dating chat. We're gonna have to ban that guy. New drums. Got some bots in the chat. Yeah, sorry about that, you guys. Shaman. Sorry, just catching up on the chat for those of you hanging out. Thank you. Again, my name is Steve Holmes. We're catching up on the chat here. We're streaming live from Los Angeles. Let's see, got some bots in the chat. Yeah. The Holy One. We're talking about the splashes now. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with this. I think I'm going to leave it. Still looking for the perfect splash and ride cymbal. Man, there's splashes like whatever. You can just get a whole bunch, but rides are obviously more of a thing. This is a 20-inch custom dry light ride that I love. Folks have heard me go on and on about this. This ride here, yeah, 20-inch K custom dry light. Let's see what else we got. That's my ride. Play some straight ahead with broken time phrasing, says Paul. Lavish D, affecting K splashes complement better than the stack. Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Play some straight ahead. Playing jazz like on drums with no music is kind of a, it can be fun for drummers to listen to, but I prefer to just play music. I got to get some play along tracks and stuff. But if someone has a question about particular, aspects of jazz drumming and stuff, we can discuss that. With broken time phrasing. Yeah, Golden Brown is in 6. That one helps. Pretty popular song. Shaman is listening from Seattle. I think 6 is easier. Yeah, 6 and 3 are they're different beasts, but it's good to know how they overlap. And, ultimately the time signature, the tune is determined by, the composer and what their intention is, So, let's see. Oh, Bobby Vincent. Man, Bobby, it's been a minute. How are you? We're back. We're streaming. I've been trying to yeah, I was hoping to get my setup a little different, but we had to revert back to my Logic program. This is not what I wanted. This thing here.
This is supposed to be the whole desktop. Display capture. Nope. We don't want that. Let's add something here. Let's add macOS screen capture. Yes. Sorry. There we go. Let's turn this off. Okay, here we go. This is the desktop. This is what I was going to show you guys before. This is how we deal with the the streaming stuff. So if I get rid of this, yeah, and then this, and this is okay. So yeah, this is Logic. This is the program we're using for the drumming stuff, right? This is the console. This is the program that came with my recording unit, and yeah, I was trying to get the effects just to go through here, but I can never get it to sound as good as my Logic program. But if I can use this, then we can get it so we can play along with clicks and tracks and stuff. But because we're doing this, we can't. But this is like, I need to mimic this setup with the Apollo stuff, with like all these effects and stuff that I have here. Like I've been slowly tweaking these effects for a while. So this is the drum sound here. So like on overheads, for example, like we've got this compressor, and let's see this reverb, and I tried to mimic these settings on the Apollo stuff, but I was not able to do it. Plus the plugins on the Apollo are expensive. So there's that. Anyways, enough about that. This is boring stuff. I just thought it might be cool to like show you the setup, you know. So let's see what else folks are saying. Let's see, Bobby Vincent. Let's see, in 3 off you feel, let's see, in 3 you often land on your left instead of normally your right. I mean, that really kind of depends. That really depends on a lot of things. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Any advice for working with kids and ADHD challenges that don't practice? Wow, I don't. I have no advice for that except be patient and good luck. I don't have a lot of experience with that kind of thing. Let's see, Shaman says leaves a lot of blackboard to scribble and give him a thumbs up. Yeah, we should be able to, like, if you guys want to support the channel, you should be able to leave a super. There's like a little smiley face or a little, you know, $sign down there, you know, in the chat if you want to support, you know. We're trying to upgrade this stuff still. So that would be great. And obviously questions that are submitted with donations get extra love. So there's always that. Let's see, for a click, maybe an external metronome hooked up. Yeah, I thought about that actually. Maybe I should just do that. I've got like an old iPhone here and with metronome apps, and I should just plug that in. I might be able to do that now. Actually, no, I'll deal with that later. But yeah, that's a good idea. I think we might have to revert to that actually, and then I can play tracks and stuff on the phone. Maybe next time we'll do that. That's a good idea. Thank you, New Drums. Let's see. What was that last lick? Yeah, sorry, Bobby. It's really hard to, like, you know, be specific. Oh, someone left $5. Hey, thank you so much. Who was that? Oh, Lavish D. Click Fund. Lavish, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. What was that last lick? Yeah, sorry, I don't know which lick you're talking about. Hey, Steve, longtime fan, finally caught a live stream. Yay, says Luca Carter. What's up, Luca? Thanks for hanging out. What are some of your favorite Vinnie phrases that you utilize in your playing? Wow, loaded question. Oh, man. You know, I've talked about some of this stuff on the other streams, but it's probably worth mentioning because Luca asked. But there's actually not a lot of, like, note for note, like, this is a Vinnie lick. There's just, like, you know, there's things that I've learned that he's done and that I've, you know, kind of taken to, like, other places and done other things with them, you know. The biggest thing probably is the, like, playing 16-note triplets and accenting, like, upbeats, you know, and filling in the triplets with the left hand, you know, like, you know, this kind of thing. You know, I was always a fan of like, you know, those little upbeat accents with the little ghost notes in between. Like I always thought that stuff sounded so slick, you know, and my tempo is fluctuating a little bit on that one. Sorry, on my left hand is like, the carpal's coming back. And so squeezing out those doubles, it's like, but yeah, that stuff sounds super busy and that kind of thing. But really, if you listen to the accents, like if you were to play that same kind of thing without the doubles, like the accents are pretty simple, you know. You know, so the floor tom and the bass drum there were playing those accents that I did on the snare, you know, da-da, da-da, whatever it was. Right, I might be changing it a little bit from example to example, but the concept is still the same, you know. And a lot of that stuff comes from what's called right hand lead, which is playing accents and filling in stuff with the left hand, really, you know. And a lot of that, you know, that's the Ted Reed stuff, you know, the page 37, page 38. You know, play the figure with the right hand and fill in the triplets with the left hand. And, you know, normally you're just playing between, you know, 1 and 2 strokes with the left hand, maybe 3, maybe, but really not, like mostly 2, you know. But so let me just play one of these like really slow. Maybe I'll pick one at a normal tempo and I'll just continually slow it down and watch the hi-hat for the quarter note. That's important. Right, so at the end there, I kept those upbeats going, you know, because that's all they are, you know. So I'm thinking like, you know, the basic phrase is like badass, badat, badass, badat. And so if you just sit on those upbeats and keep them going, it's like badass, badat, you get a 1, right? So you got to keep that internal quarter note going. And it's important to practice this stuff and just keep that left foot going. Because that spells out the quarter note, and I like that I can do that because especially for times like this, it's like it gives you that reference. Because this stuff is so busy, it can be a little hard to hear where the time is if you're not used to feeling this kind of thing, you know. And so the question was like, hey, what are some Vinnie stuff that you know, my favorite stuff to play, and that whole concept, you know, but not just Vinnie, like you know, Steve Smith, Whack, these guys kind of do that stuff. Novak, all these guys kind of, once you get that secret, which is it's just simple upbeats, then it's easy to just, you know, kind of play with that. Because again, the accents are simple phrases, you know. And I wanted to mention, like, the way Vinnie does that is that he'll take the same thing and instead of putting it on the drums, where the notes are kind of, you know, they're obvious, is like you put it on the hat and the accents aren't so obvious. It just sounds like this kind of fast flutter thing, you know. But if you take the same concept, and instead of using your bass drum with the footnote, you use your hi-hat with the footnote and then play the rest of the notes on the hi-hat, right? So the same phrase, I'll play it on the drum and then play it on the hi-hat, and you can hear what I'm talking about. Sorry, the headphones are on this, so I thought it'd be funny to... Anyway, so taking the same concept and putting it on the cymbals and stomping your left foot for the tss instead of your right foot for the boom. You know, you can see it just gives it a completely different thing. But it's the same concept, same sticking, basically. You just gotta get creative with where you put it. You know, a lot of that busy ghost notey stuff that those guys do, like that's what that is. So yeah, there you go. There's something that Vinnie does a lot that I like to do. So let's see what other questions we got. That was Lucas Carter. Let's see, Steppenhammer 1. Steppenhammer, Steeplehammer. Sorry. Hey Steve, what do you think of Vinnie's playing with Herbie in the late 2000s? Seems some people at the time were quite divided about his approach to those gigs. I'm not aware of any division, but I love that stuff. I mean, that's like once in a lifetime band. I mean, when Vinnie with Herbie, I mean, I think it's safe to say at this point that Vinnie is the Herbie of drums. I mean, in terms of the depth of his ability to improvise, I mean, I guarantee you, I would be willing to bet $1 million that Herbie would agree with that statement. Vinnie is the Herbie of drums, you know. Herbie is the Vinnie of piano. It's like those guys, you know, and there's so many videos now. We're actually lucky in this regard, especially, you know, that tune, Actual Proof, you know. I mean, the piano solo section, you know, every time, you know, it's completely different, and I think it's an interesting opportunity to watch Vinnie respond to Herbie and Herbie respond to Vinnie and everyone else, you know, kind of respond to each other over the form of this tune. I mean, all that stuff is gold. I mean, and it's kind of surpasses something being subjective. It's not subjective. Like, you may not like how it sounds, but those guys are, you know, of the caliber that they are. You know, it's like, I don't like the Beatles music that much, but they are significant. Like, you can not like something, but it doesn't change the fact of their significance. You know, and it's the same thing with those guys. You know, like spend some time and watch all the different videos of Vinnie and Herbie together playing Actual Proof, and pay attention to those solos. You know, it's like every time it's different. The piano solo, like Vinnie plays drum solos on them, and it is what it is. You know, they're amazing, obviously, but I kind of enjoy more the interaction during the piano solo. And Herbie obviously loves, you know, the stuff that Vinnie brings to those you know, those solos. You know, and maybe that's the division that some folks are talking about, you know, is like, oh, you know, the busyness and that kind of thing. And sure, that's valid, but Herbie obviously likes it, and I like it too. So it's possible that folks that aren't able to hear it, maybe they lose the quarter note, maybe they lose the time because of that crazy busyness. You know, the Vinnie stuff that he likes to do that Herbie does too, like where they take like eighth note triplets or quarter note triplets, whatever, and they put them in groups of 2. You know, those guys do that all the time. So instead of da ga da do gu do da ga da do gu da, it's da ga do gu da ga do gu da ga do gu cha 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 ga do gu. you know, or Vinnie, like, you know, and that's one of the things that he does, you know. It's like in the middle of a solo, he'll just start like, you know, cymbals and flams, you know, beep, beep, blah, blah, beep, beep, blah, blah, beep, you know, those like triplets in groups of two. It's another Vinnie thing. You know, and those guys start, you know, Herbie he owns that stuff too, and so they start doing it, and then they start doing it together and off of each other, and next thing you know, people are like, wait, what's going on? Because they don't feel that stuff, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to speculate why it might be divisive. I did find it interesting, though, that I was thinking about this the other day, actually, that after a while, like, because actual proof, like, it starts with drums, starts with a groove, right? And I noticed that after a while, Vinnie changed that intro groove to where he was just spelling out the quarter note on the ride cymbal. If you notice on some of those videos, you know, he's like dun 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 stats dun 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 ding 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 chka chka dun 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 dun, like pounding the quarter note on the later stuff. But in the beginning, the earlier videos, you know, that wasn't the case. He was just kind of like on hat, you know, doing his hat and, you know, whatever kind of busyness thing where the time wasn't exactly, you know, obvious, if you will. And I always wondered why he made that change. I wonder if that was the result of a suggestion, or if someone was like, this is the first tune of the show. Like, can we maybe simplify it a bit so people, like, when the music starts, people are like, oh, cool, you know, they kind of gives them something to latch on to. I'm totally overanalyzing at this point, but, you know, it's still fun to think about. It's fun to talk about this stuff. So there's your answer for Steeplehammer. Let's see. Drum Detect says, still love the ripping. Okay. Always reminds me of the one. Yeah, let's see. What else do we got? Let's keep it coming. I like all the chat. Chatty chat chat. Let's see what else. No click in Logic. Yes, there is a click in Logic, but in order to turn on the click, I have to, in order to get the drum signal to go through my unit, I have to turn on monitoring in order for the signal to make it through. And if I want to hear the click in the headphones, then I also have to hear the drums, and I can't do that because there's a delay. And so I can't play along with the click while listening to the drums on a delay, because hearing yourself like a half second later or even shorter than that is, like, unfortunately, it messes me up. But I'm still, like, maybe there's a way to do this. I'm still figuring it out, you guys. What's your approach to playing odd time meter? Says Kevin Abanto. That's a loaded question too, huh? Kevin Abanto, your approach to playing odd time meters. Well, there's a number of factors there. Obviously, if it's a particular tune, then you want to make sure that you're, you know, respecting the tune and respecting the intention of the tune. Sorry, the camera's like cutting me off here, but I'm trying not to get like this friggin' lights here, like in the shot. It depends on the odd meter. It depends on the context, you know, because just as odd meter is like whatever, 5, 7, 9, 11, it's like even meter is like 4. What's your approach to playing 4? It's like, it's such a general thing. It's like, well, what's the tune? What's the tempo? What are we trying to do? Like, you need more information, you know. But when I was, when I decided to, like, whatever, you pick 7, you know, I would. I've talked about this before, but if I'm trying to get good at playing at 7, I would take a drum machine or a drum app, whatever you want, or get a loop. I would make a loop of in 7, and I would put a bunch of stuff on 1, a bunch of layers of sounds, bass drums, claps, cowbells, cymbals, and then just a click for the remaining 1, so that 1 was this friggin' huge, you know, you know, like, it was crazy. And so I did that, and then I have a little bass amp or something, and I would just plug in a drum machine in the bass amp and just crank it up. And I focused on not losing 1 at first, right? That's what I did. I focused on not losing 1, and also it's good to, we're talking about learning odd meter. You just got to internalize how that meter feels. Like the meter itself, you know, not what you play on the meter, but you have to feel how, you have to internalize how it feels when 7/8 notes go by and then it's back to 1. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a very particular feeling, and so you have to kind of like internalize that that resolve, how much time passes before the resolve, and I'm a big proponent of internal practicing, because the way my brain works is it's always drumming. I'm always obsessing on drumming, whether I want to or not, which has, it's good when you like it and it sucks when you don't, but for better or for worse, it does count as a particular kind of practice, and so I like to, when you're starting out, like you're playing in 7, like where do I start? Like, okay, take a groove in 4, one of your grooves that you're comfortable with in 4, and translate it to 7, and just know that like when you're in 4/4, there's 8 eighth notes in 4/4. So when you're playing in 4, you can be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like you're playing in 4. So that's another thing. Like, make sure that you really get like how time signatures work and what the top number is and what the bottom number is. A lot of people, they kind of skip that one. Like, oh, the top number, that's how many beats are in the bar, and when the bottom number is what? The bottom number is what kind of note gets one beat. So if it's in 5/4, then there's 5 quarter notes per bar. Which means each quarter note has 4 sixteenths, etc. But if you're in 5/8, then there's 5/8 notes per bar, which is totally different. And then like what tempo are we at? What's the tempo, of the eighth notes in 5/8, etc. So these are all things you got to know, you got to understand. But to get to the musical part is like take a groove that, that you're comfortable with in 4, and like ask yourself like what's the 7 version, so it's like boom, stats, boom, boom, bat. There's your 4 groove, but what's the 7? And boom, boom, bats, boom, boom, bat, boom, spats, boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, boom, boom, bat. Like excuse me, it helps to visualize like there's 7 eighth notes. Okay, put that on the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, chat. Give yourself 1 now on the bass drum. Boom, 4, 5, 6, boom, boom, got it. 5, 6, 7, boom, boom, got it. If you're a musician, you should be like when you hear a pulse, hopefully part of your brain is going to start coming up with grooves and being creative, because that's part of being a musician. Hopefully you have that going, and you just need to apply that to the odd meter. Excuse me. So that's how I did it. I turned on the click, I put an emphasis on 1. I worked with a book from Ralph Humphrey called Even in the Odds. Sorry, I'm getting a notification that there was a motion at one of my security cameras. Nobody's there. Okay, that's good. So that's what I did. Even in the Odds from Ralph Humphrey, which talks about taking, the 7 eighth notes and, subdividing them into groups of 2 and 3 and coming up with patterns based on that. I recommend checking that book out. Listen to songs that are in an odd meter, the odd meter that you're interested in, Again, if you can't find one, check out Google. I guarantee you go to Google and you're like, what's a good song in 7/8? You're going to get the phone book. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. There's a slow song in 7 on that Sting record that Vinnie's on, 10 Summoners Tales. There's a song called St. Augustine in Hell. It's like a stick on stat one. That's another good idea is like paying attention. If you memorize like what the bass line sounds like, program that and like play along with that. That kind of thing. It's the same thing as like playing in 4. Like if a kid or a very young kid were to ask you like, oh, what's your approach to playing in 4? It's the same answer. You just you gotta figure out the pillars and the cement and the bricks between the cement, etc. I mean, I have fun playing in 7, and so I guess I'll shut up and do some of that. Just for because there's just so much talking. So let's play a little in 7. All right. 7. Right, and I'd all but guarantee that I lost one, at least once or twice in there. I mean, I'm a little rusty with that stuff, but really that's the same stuff I play in 4. It's just I've translated it to this new meter cycle in my head of if you and once you can do that, you can kind of disguise one. Like you don't have to play 1, or you can put the snare on 1. That's another thing. Like if someone's not used to how something sounds, like you put the snare on 1, they're gonna get lost. You know, so if you're like boom, or don't play 1, like we talked about that, like disguising 1, leaving 1 out, you know. So that's some of the process I did for playing odd meter. And this process that I talked about applies to the other odd meters, you know. And just real quick, you know, as an added bonus, like if you get comfortable in 7, then congratulations, you're comfortable in 13, you know, or 50, like whatever. So you're in 4/4, there's 8 eighth notes, you know, so 8 plus 7 is 15. And so if you play a bar of 4/4, and then now 1 bar of 7 that you're familiar with, and then 4/4 and 7 and 4/4/7, you're playing in 15, you know? So let's see if Steve can do that. Pretty sure I got lost there a couple of times, but the point remains, right? That's an added bonus to getting good at learning odd meter, you know. And like if you play a bar 3/4, there are 6 eighth notes in a bar 3/4, and so 6 plus 7 is 13. So congratulations. You know, we talked about playing in 3 earlier, you know. So you do that, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 1, you know? Because the eighth notes are still the same. The eighth notes are the eighth notes at that tempo. That's the beauty of this stuff, right? And you get this stuff for free. Like you get good at improvising and playing stuff in 4. You can apply it to odd meter. That's what everyone does, really. That's part of the thing. It's not this whole, oh, let me take off my head and put on my odd meter head, and now everything's completely different. No, you know? Doesn't have to be that way. You can have the same freedom. You just got to internalize that clock so that you can stick to it. And playing along with that drum machine with the big emphasis on 1 really helped me. That's just one way to go about doing it, you know. It's not the way, it's the way that worked for me. And again, the music dictates the context. You know, it's not enough to be like, how do I play an odd meter? It's like, well, what's the tune? What's the song? What's the intention? You know, a friend of mine named Jeff Miley, this guitar player, he plays in a band called the Odd Dogs. Ralph Humphrey is the drummer. Ralph Humphrey is one of the experts of odd meter. He played with Frank Zappa. He wrote the book that I mentioned earlier, Even in the Odds. He is an odd meter authority. He's a drummer in this band, Odd Dogs, and they have some really cool tunes that are just like, you got like good luck following this stuff. It's crazy. Everything is an odd meter with this band, the Odd Dogs. So check that out. Let's see what else we got. That was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to support the channel, leave a donation, or steveholmes@gmail.com for PayPal. You know, let's support, keep the stuff coming. You know. Let's see. The last question was about odd meter. Steve, what do you think? Okay, we did that. Da, da, da. Let's see. Okay, now I see you sound great. This is why. Thank you, Lavishly. Would love to hear you do some click demo a la Chris Coleman. Yeah, that's the plan. Chris Coleman is just one of the greatest drummers of all time. I just love that guy's playing. He's such a monster. Not familiar with Logic, but there's probably a click. So there is a click. But if I turn on the click and I hear the click, then I also have to hear myself with a delay, and that's the problem. Lavish, yes, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate it. Let's see, good to see you back, says Dean. Thank you, Dean. Always enjoy listening, watch people. Let's see, Bobby Vincent. Vinnie is a monster 3-player. Vinnie is a monster player in any odd meter. Well, I can do everything, yeah. Let's see, yeah, good sound. Hi from Mexico City, thank you. Bobby Vincent, the 12 is sounding nice today. The 12 tom, yes, thank you. Yamaha Phoenix drums here for folks that are curious. It's more important to transcribe the greats, but your favorite drummers learn from, or is it more efficient to just transcribe your favorite drummers directly? Says James Dancer, I guess talking about like learning on meter, etc. I'm not a big fan of like transcribing something for the sake of, well, I mean, it's just me personally. Like if transcribing something helps someone like learn it, then that's the way to go. And there's no substitute for like visually seeing the notes and how they relate to the quarter note. I'm always a big proponent of that. But I kind of find that, you know, that, I mean, when it comes to trying to learn a lick or a phrase, like transcribing is not my favorite way to do it. Usually I'm just like, okay, what's the subdivision and what's the sticking, you know, that kind of thing. And I understand it's not easy, and it's not that easy for everyone, and transcribing certainly helps. Excuse me. COVID cough. Let's see. I can't believe you're using a Pearl tuning key. I'm out of here, says Bobby Vincent, deal breaker. You know what? I have no allegiance. I have no allegiance to, oh man, I have 2 Pearl drum keys. Sorry, guys. I have no allegiance to drum keys other than does it work? And some of the drums here are like left over from friends of mine and stuff, and so I don't know how those ended up here. That's funny. Let's see. Let's see. More stuff. The chatting is fun. Thanks for all that, Steve. Yes, of course, Luca. This channel is a gem, says Bobby Vincent. I don't even hold you that if you're from New Jersey. I am from New Jersey. Let's see. That was Keen. How does the exact thing all the time at the beginning of Palladium? Oh yeah, beginning of Palladium. Yeah. Have you ever met Ed Soph? I have not. Someone needs a way to convey music notation through chat text. That would be great if you could like chat and like, you know, put in transcriptions and stuff or type out cool stuff to try. Take 5 is a good starter. Sure. Take 5 is the classic example of playing in 5. Joe Morello, a pioneer of that stuff. Hey, Steve, awesome you're doing this. I've enjoyed your playing for the last 20 years, says Ben Davis. Thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it. Your website used to be the only place to hear good Vinnie and Heckle clips back in the day. Your playing is dope. Thanks, Ben. I'm glad that you were able to check that out. Back in the Dizzy, back in the OG internet days. I'm starting to sound old. Let's see, grade point 7 is 4 and 3. Same as 15 is 8 and 7. That's true. Stixology says, after years of sitting very low, I'm trying to mature my posture and sitting higher, but I find I'm having real challenges with the bass drum flutter, which I don't see from sitting low. Thoughts? So you're saying you changed where you sit and you're having issues with your bass drum as a result of that? My thing with sitting is like, I mean, yes, posture is important, sitting up straight. I actually have a back brace on right now, which I find incredibly helpful. It's like that Velcro thing that kind of double Velcros and you know, wraps around you tight and puts pressure on your back. Like I'm wearing that right now, which is good because I'm not this heavy. Like I've got like this back brace thing on, the mic's on it. Anyways, for sitting, my thing is like thighs straight. Thighs straight. when I'm sitting. You know, like that's my, I don't want my knees up, you know, I don't want them up. I want them flat. I know it's hard to see because I'm wearing black. It's not necessarily, but if, I mean, you could see like, this is my thigh, this is top of my thigh, like they're flat, you know, and I use a lot of leg when I play, you know. So I don't sit high such that my thigh is angled down. I don't sit low such that my thigh is angled up. I like to keep my legs flat. And in terms of like bass drum flutter, or just, that's basically just like bass drum dynamics, right? And the volume that you're trying to play your bass drum, that's going to dictate like the technique that you use. Like you need, you know, super, you know, a lot of volume. And I play heel up actually, for better or for worse. And I don't advocate for that because I think heel down works just as well. I mean, Dave DiCenzo plays heel down, and he's a drumming god. So there's that. And he's a double bass wizard too. And he mentioned, you know, that you know, heel down, you know, really works for him. Anyways, like if you're playing light, then you're going to use different muscles. You're going to use different parts of your leg. And so like the you know, the volume of the note dictates like how you do it, really. But that's my thing on sitting, is like I want my legs to be straight, you know, and I want to be centered. You know, that's the other thing. Like I want to be able to sit centered so that my weight is on my center, on my spine, if you will, and not like leaning off to one side, you know, because then it's going to be, you're going to introduce problems with using all four of your limbs. You know, I want to be able to use all four, you know, while I'm playing, you know, and just have the center hold down the fort, you know, while the limbs are free to do whatever they want. You know, because if you put more weight on one side and it's time to lean on that side, you're going to have problems. You don't want that. So that's my take on sitting. Let's see. Michael S. says, first, a big fan. Thank you. How do you not get stuck? Regards to fills and getting new ideas. Man, what a question. You know, I kind of have a fantasy about making like a YouTube video about, you know, another topic that's related to this, and it's a topic that no one talks about. No one talks about. And it's basically kind of a broader version of that question. It's like, well, and like I said before, like it has to happen here before, like, it comes out, you know? Like, what is the thing in your brain that sends the drumming to your body? Surely it exists. That's what has to happen. Your brain has to say, this is what we're playing, play it. And so what dictates that? You know? If I was a billionaire, I would make a movie about this, and I would talk about the music that you listen to for your whole life, and the drumming that you listen to for your whole life, and how you practice, and what you practice, and your drumming, and original ideas that you come up with, and all of that together is like fed into this mental mechanism that feeds you the drumming ideas. That's basically what it is. There's ideas you come up with on your own, right? Which for most people is not a lot. Most people are not like pioneers. You know, those are, you know, few and far between. Most people like just kind of reproduce the things that they've heard, which is fine, right? But that's kind of the process. And I don't want to go off on a big thing. Like I want to make sure I give you a helpful answer. I'm just very fascinated by this process. But you're talking about like how do you come up, you know, with ideas for fills and stuff. Like there's you know, several main avenues. But the first and most obvious one is to steal. You know, like I grew up with rock and pop before I got into jazz and, you know, kind of fusion-y drumming that I'm into, you know, thankfully, you know, and so I spent my teenage years memorizing rock tunes and pop tunes, you know, and in the 80s, you know, pop music had some cool drumming. Not all of it, but there was some cool drumming. You know, you can't, I mean, I don't know if that's the case now. I'm not going to be all like, oh, the pop music sucks today. That's not the case. I'm not going to say that. But when I grew up, and I was like, you know, a sponge. When you're young, you're a sponge. And I was like obsessed, luckily, you know, I was very obsessed and very driven with music and drumming. And so MTV was new, when MTV was like music videos, they showed bands playing, and so I was glued and watched, and you know, Huey Lewis and the News, Bill Gibson on drums, and Men at Work with Jerry Spicer on drums, like Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me. That tune, like these are old tunes, you guys. And some of you might think this is like cheesy and dated, and that's true. But that doesn't matter. It's still my answer. Like, Don't You Forget About Me, the drumming in that tune is great. There's some really nuanced hi-hat stuff going on those grooves that I've kind of never heard anyone else do, really. You know, it's not just like, it's not a basic thing. There's some like really kind of like Stuart Copeland-y hi-hat embellishment stuff going on in that tune, not to mention some pretty aggressive fills. You know, we're talking about fills. That's how I started. And I still tap into that stuff. Like fills that really do it for me and memorize, and I'll either rip them off, play them note for note as a start, and then I'll end up like expanding on it, because that's always the process. Like when I'm learning something new, if I'm coming up with something, like if there's a new drum lesson, it's like, Steve, check out this lick. Okay, let me learn the lick without changing it, you know? And that entails like memorizing how it sounds. You know, like whatever, let's be super cheesy. You know, like Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight, da-dos, 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 jo-jo. You know, after you memorize that, my next step that comes naturally is I'm going to start changing it. You know, it's going to be like da-dos, 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 da-da-ba. You know, I've made a variation of it. You know, that very simple process happens all the time. Millions of times over years, you know. Something catches your ear, you like it, you get into it, you memorize it, and then you make variations. And then those variations, they become part of your blockchain, your unchangeable blockchain of vocabulary. You know, that's how I did it. You know, and it depends on the genre too. Like the question again, we're talking about coming up with fills and how do you get out of a rut? I can't come up with any fills. You know, like how is your taste? Like do fills, like, do you get, I mean, I want to say turned on, but like musically turned on by fills. Do you hear fills that are like, whoa, man. I can think of a fill right now, and I know it's a kind of cheesy, like, you know, I'm a big fan of like Dave Weckles playing, and he's known for like soloing and stuff and technique and his thing. But man, there's some like early records that he's on, like even with like Chick Corea, there's a recording called Eye of the Beholder, with some, you know, whatever, like cheesy fusion stuff on there. I think some of those tunes are cool, actually. But Dave plays some super cool fills on there. There's one fill in a tune called Trance Dance, where he and it's so like unlike Weck, I mean, how he plays now and stuff, and I've always wanted to pick his brain about this, but I like, he does a fill where it's like, it's basically this. It's basically this. I'll play like a butchered kind of my version. You know, it's like flam with the splash, like bloons, bloons, spootakadum, bam. You know, it's right before, it's in between the, I think it's in between the piano solo and the bass solo. It's the fill that like goes into the bass solo. It's like bloons, bloons, spootakadum, bam. And that's a fill that like, whoa, I really like that. It's like, it's a sentence is what it is. Because you guys know I'm all about like treating this like a language, like letters, words, sentences, paragraphs, pages, you know. That's a little sentence. Bloots, bloots, spootakadum, bam, you know. That's a tasty fill that just resolves and sounds cool. And so, you know, again, the process that I talked about earlier, like memorize it, you know, make variations or just take half of that or the back half or like whatever you want, you know. Getting away from the cheesy fusion stuff, like the classic rock stuff, like the obviously, like I was a big Rush head for years and years, and Neil Peart is like an encyclopedia of fills. You know, so find some music that you like that has busy drumming and start like memorizing, you know, drum fills. Like 1984 from Van Halen. It's another record I would blast in the headphones, you guys, and play along with these records when I was in like junior high school and high school. You know, there's a song called I'll Wait. Super simple fills, but really cool sounding. You know, it's like this spados, 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 doos, blah, blah. You know? Like that stuff, like coming down on the, the toms, but ending on the snare. That's a statement. It's a cool statement. It's a big difference between, do-doos, do-doos, do-do-doom, bam, like ending on the low drum. But you come back to the snare, that's a whole other statement. That's like a fuck you, I'm doing this, as opposed to like, that's a different statement altogether. It's not a bad statement. We're just, comparing and contrasting it. As opposed to like, but blah, blah. Completely different statement, And so learning those and memorizing those and appreciating those, that's the other thing. Like we talked about, like, oh, should I play jazz music? It's like, I don't know, do you like jazz music? Like, oh, I want to play fills. Okay, well, do you like fills? Are there fills that you like? If not, like, if none of this stuff is like reaching you, then good luck. I don't know what to tell you. Because the stuff that like reaches me emotionally, the stuff that stimulates me, the stuff that makes me go like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I don't mean like rip it off and just, have no identity. Like having an identity is important to me, obviously, but it starts with like taking stuff and like ingesting it and doing your own thing with it. And these are old records, that there's tons of fills in that song. I'll wait, and that's on 1984, like Jump. Jump was a huge hit, you guys. There's tons of cool drumming on Jump. Like snap your finger through the guitar solo of Jump, and like you might lose the time because the groove is not very obvious on there, I'd love to talk to Alex Van Halen about that, the big intro fill coming into Jump, I mean, and again, like, it's like some people are going to think this is super cheesy, but it's true. Like, when I was young and, like, this stuff was on the radio and, like, the cheesy keyboard intro to Jump would come on. It would be like, ban, 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 and then Alex and whoa, dude, that was so cool. What was that? And you see the video, he's got these rototoms and stuff, and you're like, oh, cool, rototom, ending on the snare again, Fills that reach you, Phil Collins. I want to do a whole video on Phil Collins, if I could, his early solo albums had a huge impact on me, Hello, I Must Be Going. Dude, come on, you guys, I Don't Care Anymore. That song, I Don't Care Anymore. It's based on drumming, like bloom, 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 doom, bloom, bloom, bloom. But it's tricky, The quarter note is not where you think it is in that, most likely. Yeah, and then the second tune on there is like some cheesy tune about like trying to get with a girl and stuff, but it starts with a super cool fill. I want to do a whole show on Phil Collins and just play examples. Check that stuff out. Hello, I Must Be Going is the name of that record. There's cool drumming all over that record. That's Phil Collins. Come on, we're in a chat like, oh, geez, how do I come up with fills? Phil Collins is like, oh, I'm going to write the tunes, I'm going to play piano, I'm going to sing, I'm going to play drums, I'm going to like, it's nuts. So yeah, that's me talking about drum fills. And that's just like the basic like ripping stuff off. That's not like coming up with stuff on your own, like once you get command of subdivisions and spending time, like one final thing I'll say about fills really quick because this is important. I spend a lot of time improvising like in a solo context, right? So if you can play 4 bars of soloing easily, then playing 1 bar fill should be super easier. Right? So it's like basically like, hey, can you improvise a story? It's like, yes, I had a job interview and I needed a good suit, and so I took the bus to the mall and I went to a couple stores and I found one suit I liked and I couldn't afford it. So I had a friend of mine Venmo some money to me and I bought the suit and I wore it to the interview and I got the job. And so I really owe my friend a big thank you for that. So there's me like literally improvising a story. So it's like, if you can do that, and that's drum solo, then a fill is like 1 sentence. A fill is like, I had a job interview. So it's like if you spend time coming up with stories, it should be easy to come up with a sentence, right? So if you can improvise 4 bars, There's 4 bars, right? I think it was either 2 or 4. I'm pretty sure it was 4. Anyway, if you spend time and you get good at that, then it should be easy to just come up with 1 bar, you know? You know, and so right there I was thinking like, boosh, badas, do, step, dosh, ba, right? The dosh is like the floor tom of the China, right? We love that. We call it the gush, right? Boosh, badas, do, steady, do, blush, right? That's what that was, you know? You know, and like the double symbol on the end, like the crash a 16th before the downbeat, and then the crash on the downbeat, like, that's another thing that's like, you know, adds like a thing, you know, to the fill. You know, instead of a crash right on 1, there's like a crash a 16th before 1 and a 1. It's like a double crash. You know, maybe the first one doesn't have a bass drum underneath of it. You know, it sounds completely different. You know, the first crash had no bass drum. The second one put the bass drum underneath both of them. You know, it's a completely different statement. You know, it's funny, I was singing the other day that tune, I've Had the Time of My Life, from Dirty Dancing. I've had the time of my life. There's some cool drumming in there. And I remember there's a fill in there where he does that. He does like the open cymbal before the downbeat, you know? And I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool, you know, for a pop tune. You know, usually you don't hear that kind of thing. Anyways, that's me talking about fills and ripping off fills and coming up with fills and that kind of thing. I hope that was useful. I'm expecting the battery to die on this friggin' microphone. I'm surprised it hasn't yet. Let's see. Catching up on comments here. Regards to getting new ideas. Okay, so Michael asked, that was for you. I hope that was helpful, buddy. Let's see. Did you ever study with Efren Toro while you were at Musicians Institute? I didn't study with him, but I did have a chance to spend some time with Efren. Efren Toro, you guys, it's hard to describe what Efren is. I mean, he plays percussion, but he is, I want to say a professor. He's extremely knowledgeable about rhythm, in a general sense, how rhythm works, the mathematical properties of rhythm, but also the organic properties of rhythm, particularly polyrhythms and how they work. I'm really not giving him justice, but I remember just being kind of in awe of him. And years later, I had a couple exchanges with him on Facebook where he posted a couple videos demonstrating some polyrhythm things and transcribing stuff, and I had kind of engaged with him on that stuff because his stuff at the time, like, I didn't understand it, but then like years later, after, you know, getting better myself mentally and understanding things better, I was in a better place to engage with him. But yeah, that's my experience with Efren, and I would definitely recommend guys checking him out. Thank you for the answer. You're a great teacher. Says Kevin, you're welcome. Stixology, message retracted. Bobby, I'm New Jersey too. Yes, Jersey. Don't you forget about me. Yes, I'm telling you guys. Love that song. Funny, you've been doing this forever, and yes, I remember checking your Vinnie Colaiuta. Yeah, my House of Drumming website is what people are talking about. It's still up. Actually, houseofdrumming.com. There's a forum up there now, and people still, you know, there's a small group of folks, and myself included, that still hang out there and chat. Absolute. You're an absolute goat of a player and a brilliant presenter. Have you considered a more formal platform for your drumming, a long-term video online school? Well, you know, I did put out an instructional DVD in the late 90s, early 2000s called Shed Some Light. Young Steve put out a DVD. First I was selling it on the internet, and then I got an offer from Hal Leonard to publish the DVD. And so I feel pretty lucky, actually, that I managed to get like a physical media out into the market before the internet really, really blew up, because now it's like no one's going to do that. But yeah, it's called Shed Some Light. And there's some cool stuff on there. It's like, you know, me and some friends filmed it in a recording studio. And my friends, I mean, people that worked in television, you know, so it was fairly professional. And it's not on YouTube, actually. I mean, it's not very popular. It's not popular enough to where like people are going to rip it and put it on YouTube. There's like, very little copies sold, I imagine. But I don't want to open up like a school or do a what is it called, Patreon, because my real job keeps me busy. I'm a video game designer. For folks that don't know, I work at Infinity Ward. I make Call of Duty. I'm a video game designer. And that takes up a lot of my time, and so I don't want my drumming to turn into something that I have to like worry about. You know, I don't want to have to be like, oh man, I have to make 2 videos this month for the Patreon guys and stuff. And maybe one day I'll do that, but for now I like the freedom of doing this at my leisure. So there's your answer. I know you did a video based on Gergo phrase. Is there anything else you two talked about that day? Oh, Luca Carter. Yeah, Luca. I mean, that was a whole lesson. You know, there's a video on my YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen my YouTube channel, I recommend to go to it. There's a lot of stuff on there. And all these streams, like I've done so many streams now, and they're all on there too. There's a lot of information in those streams, and it's. Those videos don't come up in people's like algorithms and stuff. It's a shame, but man, there's so much information in my stream videos that are on my channel. Anyways, I took a lesson with Gergo that day, and there was that one little snippet that I liked, and I made that video that you're talking about on my channel. Dega destus, like that phrase. Oh man, yeah. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about on my channel, there's an instructional, a clip called the Gergo Borlai Limb Breaker. I love Gergo's drum. He's one of my favorite drummers of all time these days. What else did we talk about that day? I there wasn't anything that I was like, oh, this is how you do that one thing. Okay, I just kind of picked his brain about how, he approached things and how did he practice things. And I came to learn that he is just immensely talented and very quick to pick things up and develop things, whereas I or us mere mortals, like we have to break stuff down and maybe transcribe stuff. And it seemed to me that that process for him was faster than it was for me, which I thought was super fascinating. But man, his singles, his technique, it's just amazing. There's some older videos of Gergo. Actually, my favorite video of Gergo, there's a couple, but the one that just will never be topped is him on the Tam Tam Drum Festival. He's been on there twice, actually. I think he was on recently. But like 1 year ago, like maybe 3-4 years ago, he was on the Tam Tam Drum Festival, and there's a video of his whole performance, and the video quality is really good. The sound quality is really good, but he plays amazing on there. So yeah, I don't remember what else we talked about that day. Just talked about like, how, he got where he is, like doing clinics and that kind of thing. And it was an interesting conversation. I've seen him play a bunch, and he's a super nice guy. Much respect to Gergo. Let's see what else we got. I know you did a video, oh yeah, Luca Carter. Phil is getting so old. Yeah, we're talking about Phil Collins being old. Yeah, his son plays like him. Well, yeah, his son, did the last few tours and stuff, and so he kind of had to become the new Phil Collins, which is pretty amazing. Brandon Zoo says, hi, I'm here. Phil Collins with an F. That's funny. Or is it? Just kidding. Let's see. I've had the time. Weichel did a lot of that Herta type fills back in the 90s. Bobby Vincent, I'm born in the 70s, so I can relate. Man, I need some water, you guys. Stixology with a $10 donation. Cheers, Stixology. Thank you. Oh, losing my voice. But this is fun. Let's see, is there any new drum gear that you see on the horizon that you're excited about? Yeah. There is, but it's not like drum or drum set stuff. It's like stuff for this room. Like I need to put up some curtains. I need a new desk. I need some speakers in here. Like just more like studio gear stuff. A camera switcher. Got all kinds of cameras in here. I've got this camera here. I've got an old iPhone camera behind me. right there. Can we do this? Right there. There's an old iPhone camera. I want a camera switcher so I can plug cameras into the switcher and plug that into my laptop and switch cameras, right? Because right now I'm just using the laptop camera. I can just pick it up and just kind of do this. Oh, but it came unplugged. Anyways, yes, that's like, you know, and I'm always like, you know, I'm always excited to check out the new Zildjian stuff. You know, I'm a Zildjian artist, and so I go down there and you know, they have a facility here in Los Angeles, and you know, check out stuff and pick stuff, and that's always super fun. Also, I need a new snare drum. I almost got a new snare drum from Yamaha. I'm a Yamaha artist. Right when the pandemic was hitting, and then as a result of the pandemic, it didn't happen. But I should reach out now and get a brass snare drum. That's what I want to get. Let's see, House of Drumming is where I found you, says Bobby Vincent. God of War Ragnarok, playing it right now, except saw you were live. Oh man, I am going to play God of War Ragnarok for sure. I beat the last God of War. I love that game. Let's see, the speed he pulls those sevens off is just insane, says Pablo Swanson. Thank you, Pablo. I remember you from before. Let's see, funny you talk about carpal tunnel making your doubles hard earlier. I was experiencing the same thing last night when practicing from your flowing ghost notes video. Yeah, the carpal tunnel thing is real. Do you think the developing push-pull for doubles might be useful to reduce strain? I don't know. I can't really say like this particular drumming thing will prevent carpal. Like I can't say that because part of me thinks that like I mean, I'm a big proponent of like not fighting yourself and kind of, you know, rebound and letting the stick bounce back because it wants to. You know, it's like the Gruber-Weckel thing that he talks about a lot, and I agree with all that stuff, and so I think that will help a lot. Like not holding the stick too tight, you know, not burying the stick into the drum, you know, letting the stick, you know, bounce off and letting the drum resonate, you know. I mean, although I'm like my backbeat with my left hand, like I still bury that shit a lot, and that kind of sucks. That's probably the reason why, because I'm having, and I've got all kinds of carpal, like tunnel and the other one. I forget the name of it now because I was diagnosed a little over a year ago. Anyways, yeah, those are the only two things that I could recommend for that. But part of me thinks that you just keep doing this long enough and your body's going to start, like, it's almost inevitable. Like I'm 50 now, you know? So we're talking about like, geez, 30 plus years, at least 35, 40 years of this. And so of course stuff's going to start to happen, you know? Let's see, do you think developing push-pull, we talked about that, I love the Tantam video, yes, agreed. Jeffrey Lang, hi Steve, I first discovered the blushda lick courtesy of your demo years ago. Now there's a bunch of demos online. Is it possible that your vid broke the ice? Great stuff all around, thanks, says Jeffrey Lang. Thank you, Jeffrey. I mean, it's not a contest, you know, like who was the first and who does it better and whatever. Like I'm not really concerned with that, but I am thankful for my part in that, you know, legacy. If, you know, we're going to be cheesy for a moment, talking about the blushda lick. I certainly didn't come up with the blushda. I simply learned how to do it, and I was probably the first person to put out a video that demonstrates how to do it before YouTube was even around. You know, I made a video and I, you know, encoded it and uploaded it and posted a link to the video, and that's how it got around. This is like late 90s, you know. I know a lot of people have seen it, and I've since done another one. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you check it out for sure. On my channel, it's called the Definitive Blushda video, where we kind of revisit it and go into a lot of depth on it, actually, different examples of how to do it and playing it in different time signatures and the important things that I think are important in order to get the sound that I like out of it. But yeah, agreed. There's a lot of blushda videos, and a couple of them actually, you know, reference me, and I'm just thankful for that kind of thing, you know. Todd Zuckerman has put out several instructional DVDs, and one of them, his first one, he mentions that lick, and he says, you know, in there, he's like, oh, it's not a toy. He jokes around, you know, he's referencing the joke that I did in my video. because that's what I say at the end of mine, at the end of several of my videos. I'm like, it's not a toy, don't hurt anybody with the blushda. And so I was a little bummed that Todd like used the joke, but didn't, didn't give me credit, because, that would have been helpful for exposure. But like I said, it's not a contest, that it's not really important. And again, it's not my lick. I was just one of the early ones out of the gate to demonstrate how to do it. I don't take credit for the actual phrase, although it's possible that I didn't name it. I forget, I'm pretty sure we named it at Musicians Institute because, we learned it there, and I was just like, blushda, blushda, that's what we called it. And then after that, that's what I called it in the video. So I think we named it, but I certainly didn't come up with the fill, obviously. Let's see, Brandon Zoo, do you have private drum lessons? How can I contact you? Yes, Brandon, I do give lessons in person or online. Anyone's interested in lessons, reach out to me, steveholmes@gmail.com. steveholmes@gmail.com. And also that's my PayPal account. So if folks want to just donate, on PayPal, then they can do that too. Or Venmo, I think anyways, steveholmes@gmail.com. I'm in the Los Angeles area. I'm in the very border of Los Angeles and Ventura County, actually. Anyways, yes, we give lessons here and we do online lessons as well. Tennis elbow, yes. I have tennis elbow and golf elbow. I've got all the elbows. Let's see the Google video. Let's see, Gary and Matt Garska's drum battle is bananas. Yeah, both those guys are bananas at the Hollywood Drum. So, can you demo a useful routine for beginners intermediate to develop freedom in 16-note triplets incorporating hands and feet? Oh man, says Dimitri Adams. What a loaded question. I can, I guess, cover a couple, things that can help get you going. I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, I've spent a lot of time working on it, so I can just kind of improvise over 16-note triplets and just kind of keep that flow going. A lot of guys have that stuff happening now. Geez, man, there's a lot to that. There was a handful of phrases from other drummers that are on 16-note triplets that I learned and then did what we talked about before, which is like you learn it and then like you kind of make all these variations and do your own thing with it. There's a couple of gad licks, that kind of thing. Let's see. Okay, so for folks that don't know, like 16-note triplets is like 6 notes per quarter note. So if you're like 3, 4, all right, so six notes per quarter note. I know what you're going for. I mean, like just to get that flowing kind of phrasing going, the first thing I would do is actually like just playing, triplets like right, left, left, right, left, left, and getting that, putting the right hand over the drums and starting to replace the right hand with the right foot. That's a good thing to start doing. Sorry, that's like the upbeat version. Like we talked about that earlier in the stream, playing 16-note triplets but accenting the upbeats. So we talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to go into that. There's like 2 Steve Gadd licks, like the must know Gadd licks, that are both on triplets. There's a couple Weckl licks over top of triplets that once I learned those, and I was like, oh, this is a way that you can kind of get that flowing 16-note triplety thing going. So there's that, but also, taking basic like Ted Reed phrasing, playing it, with bass drum and cymbals and like doubling everything else. I've got a 3-part double stroke video thing that talks about that. So for example, like if you play 8th note triplets, hand to hand, and you accent the quarter note, right? So you're like accenting right, left, like such. understand triplets, if you double the middle two, you know, that also kind of has the flowing thing going, you know, and you're accenting the downbeat in, so it's easy. You know, and don't worry about like what subdivision it is quite yet. It depends, you know, you can play them as 30 seconds or 16-note triplets or septuplets even if you space them out, you know, evenly, you know, even 7 notes or, 7 notes per, or 5 actually, per quarter note. Sorry, I'm starting to fade a little bit. But if you speed it up, then you kind of get that flow. You know, you can interchange that with like with the 6-stroke roll. You know, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. You know, so it's like fives and sixes. But once you play them up to speed, they sound like kind of the same subdivision. You know. You know, switch to singles there at the end. But again, like, I mean, I know you're trying to get that flow thing going. You know, another thing that's easy to practice is just, you know, the foot right, left, you know, the bottom thing. You know, but the thing you want to pay attention with that is like, make sure you know where your foot is in relation to the quarter note, because if you start that in a particular way, the foot is no longer the downbeat, and so you got to know like, where am I coming out? One hand is going to be 1 if I keep doing this, because, you know, assuming you want to come out with a cymbal, you know, like there's that go-to gad lick that I talk about, you know, like foot right, left, right, left, left. Right, there's the first triplet, foot right, left, and then triplet number 2 is just right, left, left. So it's just 2 triplets. There's number 1, foot right, left. And then right, left, left. There's number 2. But if you put, you know, number 2, if you start it instead of right, left, left on the snare, if you do first right on the floor tom, that's a whole other thing. It's like stupid. So there's me spelling out some different ways to take the same groups of 3. Foot right, left. You know, foot's on the downbeat. You know, that helps me. So when I'm doing that, you're basically just stomping eighth notes. You know, so that helps me keep track of the time. You know, because knowing where your limbs are in relation to the quarter note is a must. You got to know where everything is in relation to the pulse if you want to keep track of this stuff and get control over it. And that's all from GAD, you guys. The you know, like you listen to that classic GAD stuff that people talk about, like Aja and excuse me. A lot of that stuff is just GAD being like, hey guys, look, there's some, you know, 5 or 6 ways he's going to play groups of 3, and then he's going to reinvent drumming. It's basically what he did. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's a good way to think about getting that kind of triplet flow. You know, it's all about accents. It's all about coming up with musical phrases that you can feel against the quarter note. And you know me, I'm always singing this stuff, you know. My goal is to get a doos, to get a doos, to get a bass, bass, to get a bass, bass, to get a bass, 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 toast, 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 to get a doos, bass, to get a doos, tass, to get a bah. That's my goal. To this, to the pulse, and so that's why my hi-hat is always doing that, you know. So there you go. I hope that was helpful, Dimitri. All right, we got to wrap it up here. We've been doing this for a while, and I have a dog that needs feeding. That's my dog Benny. That's an old picture though. I'm going to show you a more recent picture of my dog just because I can. Let's see. There you go. That's my dog Benny. He's a Labradoodle. He's been alone for a few hours now, so I'm going to go check on him. But I appreciate the support. If you guys want to, support, make a donation, you can click the super on here, or just Steve Holmes at gmail.com for PayPal, whatever. You know, I'm all about sharing this stuff and you know, helping people get to the next level. But I don't have an online school. I'm not charging money for any of this, but any support is appreciated. All right, so let's see what else folks are saying, and we'll kind of wrap it up here. Hey Steve, try to turn the other drums. Let's see the GAD like, yep. The other GAD like, let's see. Let's see, Steve, Randy Miller says, I try to turn other drummers onto your channel all the time. I work on your videos, and they're my favorite list a lot. I play traditional grip full-time. Your playing is very inspirational. Thank you so much, Randy, for checking out the videos. I'm really glad that they're helpful. Let's see, Pablo Swanson. Tony has the blushda. GAD has the akbada. Akbada. That's funny. Pablo Swanson, what's up? It's been a minute. Let's see. You can more. Come on, man. Okay. It's a great tip. Wow. I can't do it yet, but that makes sense. Sledge Raw Steve's coming out, so you better get this party started. Get this party started on a Sunday night. Yeah. Yeah, I love doing these streams, guys. I'm sorry that they're not like at a scheduled time so people know ahead of time. I mean, like I said, I just want to kind of do these like when I have time and when I'm feeling it. And I mean, what I was going to do is like, you know, start the stream and put up a thing that's like, oh, the stream will start in 15 minutes to give people a chance to like come before we actually start. Let's see. Sorry, I get my coat. Great lesson, nice, thank you. Practice and patience is the thing. Let's see, Stixology just checked out the 2016 Tam Tam with Gergo. Thank you, oh my goodness, yes, the 2016 Tam Tam with Gergo. Oh man, he plays the Black Page on there, the Zappa tune at Black Page Part 2. Oh my God, you guys, Gergo on there, his singles are just, like he's on the Dennis level, it's nuts. The Holmes Doge. Let's see, oh, Benny's beautiful, thank you. Sorry, I post some cringe, I know, Pablo. All right, Pablo, settle down, all right? So I'm gonna play just a little bit more, just kind of messing around, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, all right? Thanks for hanging out, you guys. My name is Steve Holmes. We're streaming live from Los Angeles. And I'm just going to, play a little bit more, improvise some more. See what we can do with this new splash here. You saw it here. I should have stopped a long time ago. Oh man, really need to get that metronome going. Play this stuff to a click, and I'm sure we're in for a big reality check. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out. Let's see. How do I get fast and powerful single stroke whirls on the kit? We'll talk about it next time. Not that I know, I don't have good signals. Playing here in Bahram. Keep it up. Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Steve, for all you do. Azuka, yes. Awesome. Thanks for this, Steve. Nice melodic thing there on the crashes. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Let's see. Sledge the Ross. Peter just thumbs some up. Singles. Okay, so we're talking about singles. That's cool. A $5 donation. Thank you so much from Hudson Lawrence. Really appreciate it. Drop of the stick. Oh, yes. The drumming blue screen of death. Yeah. That's the beauty of these streams, man. I like that people see like the imperfections and the gritty reality of drumming. Next Sunday on Steve's Drum Scene, the gritty reality of stick dropping. Let's see, never stop working on the fundamentals. Love to see you gig with Osnoy. I messaged Osnoy a long time ago. He doesn't need me. He's got Michael Jordan. You know, he's got those guys. All roads lead to the shuffle. Yeah. Love the X-Hat. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting used to it, you know. All right. That's it. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. My name is Steve Holmes. We'll see you.